We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and this is the portion that we left out in the other video related to history begins at Sumer. We forgot to include the Brita or Genesis 1 to 4, where it reads. Actually, we did look at that. I'm sure we looked at that. Yeah, we forgot to mention, we'll say, that further down this particular, or these particular chapters, there is a indication. Okay, it's Brita or Genesis 4 1 to 26, which reads, and Adam had intercourse, put together with Eve, right? Did the boom boom, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. In the footnotes, for one literal Aramaic Cain. It means gain. The word is probably derived from the Aramaic. And she said, I have gained a man for the Lord. Or from the Lord. And she further gave birth to his brother Abel. Footnotes 4 to 1 literal Aramaic Havel. Havel. Ironically, it's probably where the word Abel came from. And Abel became a herder and Cain became a tiller of soil. So Abel raised goats, sheep, cattle, right, whatever, in that time, in that age, that eon, and Cain became a tiller of the soil, so he was like vegetable grower, etc. Right? One was raised animals, etc., usually byproduct, and the other was like an agriculturist. And there came Cain after many years. The footnotes for 3 literal Aramaic idiom, Iume, cycles, eons, or age. Okay. Doesn't mean an exact day or week. And he came Cain after many years, and brought of the fruit of his land an offering to the Lord. So you got to understand that those years were like short. Right? They might have only had like 10 months in that year, etc. Up until the Egyptians created the 365 day or a year in calendar, etc. Okay, so he brought his offering and Abel brought his, and God was pleased with Abel's, his sacrifice, because it was the required sacrifice of God. But Cain's, he didn't, so Cain got all upset, he had a frown on his face. God says, oh, you know what, I've got a frown on your face, and he says, oh, blah blah blah. You know, if you knew what was right, you'd do what was right, and that would be pleasing to him, etc. And with Cain and his offering, he was not pleased, and it really bothered Cain, and his face turned sour, like it ate a whole lot of lemons. And the Lord said to Cain, why did it upset you, and why did your face turn sour? Behold, take note, if you glorify me, you shall be accepted. And if you do not, your evil Lord, that means, like, you know, if you listen to his instructions or his commandments, you shall be accepted, right? And your sacrifice would have been accepted. And if you didn't, or you do not, your evil Lord. And in the footnotes it has 4-7 literal Aramaic word Rabishu, or Lord of Evil, from cuneiform records of Mesopotamia, several thousand years old, probably about 3,000 years older, right, from the Sumerian, okay. Which merged into the Akkadian, which merged into the Babylonian, and it merged into the Syrian or Assyrian. Okay, so they're descendants of these Sumerians apparently. So again, it's calling the devil or the evil lord of evil Rabishu in the original scribal language, Lishana Atika Sapre. Okay. This is taken from the cuneiform records of Mesopotamia, several thousand years old. Okay. Because this native-born Aramaic-speaking translator, Victor Alexander, went around the world, different museums, the British and the French Museum in Paris, and he looked at the artifacts that were there, and he noticed there was cuneiform and Aramaic underneath. So the cuneiform records of Mesopotamia and the Aramaic he translated into the nearest English equivalent. However, he did it. However, he figured out how to do it, because it's a very old, dead language. Okay, so Cain said to Abel, his brother, "We are better off outside. Let's go outdoors. I want to talk to you, bro." And while they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Probably smacked him on the head with a rock, or something like that. And the Lord said to Cain, eventually, year one, we're there, don't know, where's Abel, your brother? And he said to him, in reply, "I don't know. Why? Am I my brother's guard?" And the Lord said to him, "What did you do? The blood of your brother is crying out from the earth." 14. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, the voice of his blood. Because life is in the blood, right? According to the scriptures. Okay, henceforth, or therefore, you are cursed by the earth, that open its mouth and receive the blood of your brother from your hands. As you work the earth, it will not flourish and give you its yield. You shall be a wanderer or a nomad. Right. A wanderer and a nomad on the earth. Cain said, "My errors are too great to be forgiven." Look at this. Take note, Cain. You have removed. Oh, sorry, God. Take note. Cain says to God, "You have removed me from this age, or in this era, okay, from the face of the earth, and he lays hidden from God's presence." Let's have a look at that one. What's that? 14. Literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, hidden before you. Okay. So he's been separated from God. God still is aware of him, but he's just not. God no longer knows him, because he's a sinner. He's a murderer. Yeah. So Cain says, "Oh, my errors are too great to be forgiven." Yeah, I understand, God, I killed my brother. Yeah, I have to live with that. But to be removed from you because of those errors is something I can't really handle. You've removed me in this age from the face of the earth, etc., etc. And I'm a wanderer and a nomad on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Christians out there always used to teach us there's only Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Cain killed Abel, that's it. Nobody else. Alright. No one else. Just those three left. Okay. But as we verified through these original, ancient, very old scribal texts, the scribal language, the Lishana Atika Sapre, of the Tab Asheret, which was hand copied around 800 BCE by the scribes and monks of Ur, Edessa, now modern Turkey. In this scribal language, Lishana Atika of the Tab Asheret. Okay, anyone that finds him and kills him will pay sevenfold, or 7 times 70. And the Lord consecrated a sign upon Cain, and anyone who finds him should not kill him. So there's some sort of mark or indication, or something about his presence, like the aura or whatever people felt. Well, you can't touch this guy, mate. There's something about this guy. Yeah, you can't kill him because there's only 3 of them around. It doesn't mention. Oh yeah, well they were talking. Adam and Eve had more sons and daughters, right? Okay. She did have a son. Oh yeah, here we go. Go down further down here. Don't confuse you. Okay, so he hasn't had a son yet. She hasn't had a son yet. Getting together with Adam again. Okay, no mention of that. So Cain goes off to the land of the nomads east of Eden. or according to the myth, Edin, Edin, of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, etc. And Cain took a wife. He didn't take a sister with him. Okay, so there's no incest there. What it means is he found himself a wife in that land. Okay, and he lay with her, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. And Cain started a village and called it after his son Enoch. And to Enoch was born Irad, and to Irad was born Mehujael. This is an indication here, possibly of the article the. Okay, could be the Mehujael. Could be something of God, right? And to Mehujael was born Methushael. And to Methushael was born Lamech. Yeah, we're not too sure on that one. What we just said. It's got something to do with the article the. Not nothing to do with Elohim or anything like that. It's something, the meaning in that name we don't know because we don't speak Aramaic. Only the translator would know. Or someone who knows the Hebrew really well. And Lamech took 2 women, etc., etc. So he then admits to them, listen to me, listen to what I'm saying, woman of Lamech, my 2 wives, and listen to my sayings, for I've killed a husband in his bigamy, and more than 1 wife, and a young boy in his lechery. And it's the viciousness, is it the word? It is treachery. For Cain is paid in vengeance 7-fold, 7 times 70, and Lamech will be paid 70 times 7 if someone kills him because he killed Cain. Supposedly in the pseudepigrapher, the Lost Book of Adam and Eve Part 2, it actually tells you that it's either the first or the second book where they went hunting and Lamech fired an arrow, accidentally killed Cain, and here it's indicating that to get this one of these women, he killed a younger man. Okay, to get her, to have her, right? So that's why he had 2 wives. That's why he was the first bigamist. And Adam took his wife Eve again. So there's an indication there that he slept with her. So it's not saying that he took her somewhere, right? It means in the Eastern mindset that he slept with her, did the boom boom, and she became pregnant and gave birth, and she called his name Seth. Down here it has in the footnotes 425 literal Aramaic word Shet instead or in place of, because Cain had killed Abel, so God gave her another son, Seth. Because God gave her another offspring in place of Abel, who was killed by Cain. And to Seth also was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Thereafter, that's afterwards, after this guy was born, Enosh was born, the people, the descendants, were called after the name of the Lord. And this is, in a footnote, indication of the beginning of the line of the children of God. That holy line, which is the Christ should have came through, right? Obviously through Mary, because Joseph's line, they had to play with a lot of problems. There's a few forefathers of his, or ancestors, that turned their back on God, or they did something wicked and died or something like that. Whereas Mary's line were pretty much pure, righteous, etc., etc. And she was that chosen vessel for this Christ, this Messiah to be born through, right? She was of, Joseph was of the line of Solomon, or he was of the line of David, and Mary was also of that lineage. Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, we're pretty sure it was both of the lineage of David. Yeah. Which doesn't mean that they were sister and brother or anything like that, right? Or very, very closely related, because parents could have been of mixed origin along the way, you know. So there could have been two separate lines, but it all leads back to King David. Okay, so that's the beginning of the Holy Line. And then we have Genesis chapter 5 verse 8. Okay. Genesis 5, this chapter follows the details of the line of Seth. Okay, so these are the descendants of Seth, son of Enosh, son of Adam. Right? The replacements that God gave him. This is the scripture of Adam's birth in the eon, or the age or era, the unknown, unfathomable period, that God created Adam, made Adam in the likeness of God. He created him. That's the one human being where he made him from the soil, from the earth, not the other one, the Neanderthal. Male and female who were created in his image. There's a difference here. Male and female he created them, and God blessed them, and he called their name Adam. In the eon, or the era, the age, the unfathomable, immeasurable period, he created them. And Adam lived 130 years, and he produced offspring in his own image, and he called his name Seth. So they look like him. His sons, his daughters, obviously they look like him. In this case, the males look very much like him. They were like him, right? Like father, like son like father, right? And he called his name Seth. And Adam's line after the birth, it's a lineage, a line of descendants after the birth of Seth, lived 800 years, and to him were born many sons and daughters. So that's how long it lasted. See, it's like, let's say, for example, Adam has a child called Seth, right? Or Enosh. Seth. Yeah, he has a child called Seth, right? He's the male heir, or he's the head chief, or he's the top dog that's responsible for that tribe because he's the oldest. Yeah? And then when he dies, his oldest son is the heir, or the head, the chief of that particular lineage. And then when he dies, his son's automatically the head, the chief, the heir, in charge of the offspring that follows, that lineage. In Adam's line after the birth of Seth lived 800 years, and to him were born many sons and daughters. It's the Seth, right? Okay, let's talk about Adam. In Adam's line after the birth of Seth, after he had this child and grew up, lived 800 years, and to him were born many sons and daughters. So Adam may have had many more. And so Adam's entire line or lineage was 930 years altogether, and then it ended. You have in your modern Americanized English Bible versions that he lived to be 930. That defies common sense, logic. He lucky guy, because he lived 930 years when there would have been different diseases that they knew nothing about, rampant, all that sort of stuff, get common cold. Your lifespan wasn't very long because of all these germs and bacteria and stuff. It's just basic common sense logic, right, in reality. So your modern Americanized Bible version saying that he lived to 930 is incorrect according to this original ancient, very old scribal language, Lishana Atika Saprea, the scribal language, or the language that God spoke to Adam and Eve in the garden, etc. Yeah. So his entire lineage was 930 years altogether, and then it ended. Yeah. In the footnotes, 5:5, literal Aramaic idiom or expression, it died out. Yeah. See how they have a different mindset? Yeah. We as Westerners would look at it because of that Americanized English Bible version and go, oh yeah, okay, he lived 930 years and then he died. It's actually incorrect. It's right here. And so Adam's entire line or lineage was 930 years altogether, and then it was over. Yeah. Because he dies, and then Seth, the first child, Cain was actually Cain and Abel were the firstborn. Cain kills Abel, Cain's no longer on scene. He's headed into the land of the east, land of Nod. He's living there. The Seth lived 105 years, and to him was born Enosh. Okay? So he's the oldest son. So he's the heir, he's the head, he's the chief of the descendants that followed. And Seth's line, or lineage, lived after Enosh was born to him 870 years, and he brought 4 sons and daughters. And then his entire line was 912 years, and it ended. So it's not saying he died at 912 years of age. Okay? And then his son carried on as the head, the heir, and the line was 500 years, and it ended, and it went on and on and on like that, right? Up until it got to Lamech, the bigamist. He had 2 wives. And after Lamech's line lived and ended, Noah was born to him. And Lamech's line lived after Noah was born to him 595 years, and he brought 4 sons and daughters, so he had more. Yeah, but Noah probably would have been the head, the heir, right, of that lineage. Yeah. And Lamech's entire line was 777 years, and then it ended. It was over. Maybe when he died, it's over, because Noah was the oldest son, so he became the heir, the head chief of that particular line, lineage of descendants. Okay, so Noah's line was 500 years, and to him were born Shem, Cam, and Japheth. That's how long it lasted. Noah might have only lived so many years, right, after the ark, and then died. Okay, this is Methuselah's name in the Aramaic. 521, literal Aramaic name, Ma-tu-shalak. Shalak. Ma-tu-shalak. Genesis 6, which is Ubaid, the Hebrew version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Okay, it's the Hebrew, that's the Chaldeans. It's not the language, it's the people that merged and went into Canaan, Abraham, etc. This is their version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. So it's like adopted and adapted. Okay? They've taken it on from the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Babylonians, etc. because they're descendants. Right? They're of the line of the Sumerians. Okay? Sumerians were non-Semitic, but then when the Akkadians apparently invaded the Sumerians, which I'm not too sure if they actually did that, warlike. There's what we've read is that the Sumerians actually just merged. They're slowly running up. Their area was slowly running up, and they slowly merged into the Akkadians. With the Akkadians interacted, and then the Akkadians interacted with the Babylonians. Maybe they were invaded. You know, these races, these peoples, eventually fade out, right? And they become, they either disappear altogether, or they slowly merge with somebody else, like the Babylonians, and then they become, you know, they adopt and adapt their religion, their rites, their rituals, whatever, right? Their language even. And then the Babylonians merge into the Assyrians, right? And so forth. So there's probably like a bit of invasion there somewhere, you know, conquering and all that sort of stuff, dragging them off to their land. They become slaves or whatever. Then they eventually become like citizens or members of this race that conquered them, okay? That invaded and took them as slaves. Okay? They eventually are born into that culture. Okay. Okay, from the ark, etc., God's telling Noah, you take the produce from each as food to eat and have them as pets for company. That's why we have animals as pets today. And take provision so there will be for you and for them food to eat. Yes, we goes into the ark, right? Is that right? Yeah, because the earth went mad before God, and the earth became full of abomination. Because these of Seth, the holy line, saw that human beings, the daughters of ungodly men, the unrighteous, the abominable, because they did abominations, right? They're not righteous, they're not in the line. They're not of God, okay? No connection to God. Okay? They're evil, etc. And while human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them. And the sons of God, and it's not talking about no Nephilim or angels, fallen angels kicked out of heaven and all that sort of stuff. It's talking about that holy line. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men, okay, these are because they called on the name of God, okay, name of the Lord. They were a holy line, and while human beings began to multiply on the face of the earth, daughters were born to them, so they're pretty hot. Okay, beautiful to these sons of God, okay, who saw that the daughters of men, daughters of the human being, everybody else, the ungodly line, were beautiful, and so they picked for themselves one whomever they pleased. So that's what it means in all these texts where they say they left their rightful place, right, etc., etc. These people left that holy line. They went from children of God to non-children of God, right? Just ordinary beings. Indicates here the sons of God saw that the daughters of men or human beings were beautiful, and so they picked for themselves one whomever they pleased. They turned it back on God. And the Lord said, my spirit does not reside in human being forever, because he is flesh. He's just a mere physical, right? He's just a human being with all these inclinations, etc., etc., these lusts. And his lifespan became 120 years. That's how long he had before a big disaster was going to come along. Now, where is that? 3. To the end of the universe. Where's that? 2, 3. Oh, okay. The spirit does not reside on men. The spirit does not reside in human being forever, for all eternity. Those men, okay, because his flesh and his lifespan became 120 years. Lifespan 3. Age or eon. That's how long he had to, before this disaster came, right? Going to come upon the wrath of God. And they were giants in the earth in those ages, in that era. And later, because the sons of God entered upon the daughters of men, and there's born to them aliens who were giants of universal fame. So it's not nanu ETs or anything like that. Translated into the nearest English. Let's have a look at 4. 6413, literal Aramaic idiom. Strange creatures, hybrid forms, monstrously large Neanderthals. So let's clear that up. So, how do we put this? Noah comes out of the ark. He has 3 sons who had 3 wives who eventually had children, right? And then they had sons and daughters, and these sons and daughters had sons and daughters, and these sons and daughters had sons and daughters, etc., etc. So there's all these descendants who split off, eventually became these different tribes. They become the Egyptians, the Ashkenazi, the Germans, etc., etc., that we know of today. Right? So there's 2 lines, right, as we were saying, holy line of God, the children of God, sons of God, and there's the unholy line, yeah, just ordinary human beings going about their day, right? So these sons of God leave their rightful place to turn back on God. They go get these women who they are probably closely related to. Yeah. So that verifies through the scriptures of these Neanderthals, Aboriginal man, probably Cro-Magnon, all that sort of stuff. Okay, not necessarily Neanderthals, not really Neanderthals because they came later. They were named after a guy. called Neander, who found the remains of these ancient Neanderthals or cavemen, in Germany. So yeah, they would have been Cro-Magnon, something like that, or other. Not these so-called Darwinian apes that slowly evolved into human beings. They used to walk on their knuckles and then they stood upright. It was sort of crap. Okay. So it's the hybrid form, and so they're closely related, but being human beings. So their DNA, if we got it right, genes are so closely related that there would have been a mix mash, and there would have been problems. Perhaps you would get children born with club feet or some other deformity, right? So when they integrated or got with these women of men, this unholy line, as you'll see, will follow that, okay, or abominable. They had these children born to them, right, and they were freaks. Yeah, that's what it's saying. They're like strange, weird. Yeah, they were huge, probably about 7 foot tall, or whatever, you know. As it says here, strange creatures, hybrid forms, monstrously large Neanderthals. So we. Here we go. And the Lord said, my spirit does not reside in the human being forever, for end of the universe, because he is flesh. His lifespan, or the amount of years, their age, their era, became 120 years before this flood disaster was to happen, right? God's vengeance upon those, because the world just went totally crazy. They did everything and anything they could imagine, as many are trying to do today, and they were giants in the earth. Strange creatures. There you go. And in those ages, and even later, because the sons of God entered upon the daughters of men, and he was born to them aliens, strangers, hybrids, who were giants of universal fame. They were well known, right? So that's probably why today they find those bones of giants in the Middle East, etc., etc. There's supposed to be one like in the scriptures, can't remember exactly where, but supposedly Nathan came across a giant and he killed him. He had this big brass beard. He lived in a cave, and apparently in the Middle East somewhere they reckon they found it still intact. I'm not too sure if they found the bones of that particular giant that Nathan or someone killed, but they did find his brass beard intact, right? In that cave. Okay. And the Lord saw that men's evil was spread on the earth, and every dissipation of their hearts excuses became worse with every age. Okay. And the Lord sighed. He went like, yeah, over his creation and Adam on the earth, and there were reservations in his heart. He was like, well, I created them to be this, and they became this. Okay. Because they interacted with these Neanderthals, okay, who don't have that spirit of God. Okay, these sons of God left their rightful place in them with these women that were born of them, right? So they probably got with the Neanderthal woman, like the archaeologists and the scientists say, okay, they have recently bred out because these human beings, Homo erectus, etc., integrated with them. And slowly breed them out. They became non-existent, as according to the history, the facts, etc., by these experts. Okay, so they're all going crazy, doing whatever they want. This is basically what Scripture is saying, that in the New Testament, that it'll return to the days of Noah, and this is the kind of thing that is going down today. Okay, every dissipation of their heart's excuses became worse with every age. You know what we're talking about? Okay, look around you and find, okay, this is kind of weird. What the hell? What the hell's that? You know, everyone's doing their thing. You know, like, say for example, you got a guy that wants to be a woman, etc., and he has a beard, mustache. He looks like a woman, but he's got a mustache and a beard. That sort of stuff, right? Okay, we're not picking on them we're not homophobic or anything like that, but it's just the reality today. Okay, it's returning to that which happened in the days of Noah, where everyone just went mad, you know, and they make excuses for whatever they're up to. Okay, whatever they believe. Oh, non-binary. I'm this. I'm that. I can do this. I can do that. It just does. It's not just to one particular thought or type of people that want to do this, want to do that. It's to all things like that. This is how I should be. I need to make the money. I need to, do this. I joined this group and make all these claims and influence others to be like this. Hip hop artists, rappers, all that sort of stuff, gangster rap, all those sort of things. It's a mixture of everything. So we're not pinpointing one particular lot of people, right? It's just people that go crazy. They think, oh yeah, who can stop me? I want to be this. I don't want to do this. Why can't I do this? It's my right. And then people that are politicians, etc., they tend to go, oh, okay, we'll make some laws, decrees. These kind of people will get into politics, be members of the parliament or prime ministers or whatever, and they've got that affiliation, so they'll say, oh, it's not nice, don't treat them like that, they should have the rights, all this sort of stuff. So they're allowing it, and that's the way they get, well, they're going to promote it and then make it a decree or make it a law, okay, that these people have these rights to do whatever, right, according to whatever they dictate, who should infringe on their rights. Okay, so that's why these people, it's itching ears, as the scripture says. This is what people want to hear, right? So people will go, oh yeah, I'll vote for you because you're promoting what I want to do, what I want to be. Okay, yeah, I'll vote for you. It's a whole lot of trickery, right? Politicians or polytricksters methods to try and get you as a citizen to vote for them, to get them into office, right? Elected, whatever, right? It's all trickery. Okay, so we're going to carry on here. So it's basically that. Okay. So these strange alien freaks, giants, etc., were born, these hybrids, because of that connection. Okay, the sons of God, the children of God, that holy line left their rightful place and merged with the daughters of men who were unrighteous and ended up doing abominable things. Okay, and making excuses for what they were doing, and they were going mad. Everything and anything and everything, right? Anything goes, sort of thing, in that time. So God was really off with them, right? So he says, okay, I'm only going to give you 120 years, and that's it, I'm wiping you out. This is very close to the myth, the Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian myths, where these aliens from another planet came down to Earth. They're looking for gold to save their planet. This is like an ozone layer. They're dying out because it was depleting. The planet would have died out, and people, the aliens on it, whatever, right? However the myth goes. So you had to create these human beings from supposedly the Neanderthal man that was already, or Cro-Magnon man that was already on the planet. Use genetic splicing, all that sort of stuff to create these hybrids that would go down into the deep darkness, because these aliens were sissies and they didn't like the darkness, right? They're scared of the dark or something like that, and get this gold so they could save their planet. So to produce, to get that gold, speed up the production, they took one of their female aliens, played around with her genetics, whatever, and she gives birth to this female version, hybrid, and then goes on from there and speeds up production, so they get their gold to the planet faster, all this sort of stuff. They're just basically a slave race. And apparently, according to these myths, they got all upset because whatever they were doing, they're interbreeding without their permission, sort of thing. And became too many of them, something like that. So it says, oh, stuff this, we're leaving the planet, we're going to hit the polar ice caps, flood it, kill everybody, and bye-bye, But apparently, according to this myth, maybe the Babylonian or the Akkadian, whatever, cuneiform text of this particular god, one of the pantheons of the gods, one of the pantheon of gods. Says they love this particular creature, right, this human being, this genetic hybrid. So they said to this boat builder, it's probably in the Babylonian text, his instructions to build this ark, right, with this boat to survive on, to live on. Here's the instructions, blah blah blah. So this Irving Finkel, curator of the British Museum, etc., he got hold of those clay tablets, a cuneiform text on it, and he translated it into English, and he saw his instructions to build this ark, which wasn't a pretty watermelon shaped boat with giraffes and elephants and all that, sticking heads out the window and smiling, right, all that sort of stuff. The Sunday school books that try to convince kids this is how it happened, kids, and here's the beautiful ark, all this sort of stuff. It was actually a coracle, it was round, because he recreated that from that myth, and with the help of other people, and they sailed it down this river. There's video footage on it, we've already covered that, right, done a video on that, of Irving Finkel on that project. And it's like a big black rubber tyre, it's huge, it's made out of twigs and all this other stuff, right, and apparently they still use them or something similar in Wales or other countries like that. Okay, so that's basically what we left out. Okay, then you got this here where the animals went 2 by 2 by 2 or whatever into the ark, and the flood waters came with this and stuff. Slightly different. Okay, they've taken it, adopted it, and adapted it from those Sumerian myths, or those myths, right, passed down through the ages, right. This is what the translator Victor N. Alexander has said, that some parts of it, of this, is from the Hebrew version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, okay, which is probably 3,000 years older than all of these, okay, all of these manuscript texts, right. Okay, so yeah, the details are slightly different. Okay, Noah came along after 600 years, and the flood brought the waters to the earth. Okay, where are we? 6 Genesis or Brita or Genesis 7. Okay, got here 721, literal Aramaic idiom or expression 77. Taking 2 pairs of each. Is that like two pairs of 7? Like, you know, male and female, but there's 7 versions of them. 7 to 1, 7 pairs. Yeah, okay, so yeah, it looks like it's 7 pairs of 2. Etc. etc. Because at the conclusion or at the end of the 7th eon, it's age, era, immeasurable period, right? In that particular era, God will bring down rains over the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and He'll wipe out everything He created that is standing from the face of the earth. And of course, Noah did everything God commanded him, etc. etc. And after 600 years of Noah's age, and the 17th day of the 2nd month, in the Hebrew, you would understand exactly what month that is. 17th day of the 2nd month. In that ensuing eon, the springs of the abyss gushed forth, okay, with great force, and the streams of heaven were broken loose. So this water comes up not only from the sky, but also from the earth. Okay? And there was rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, etc. etc. And there was a flood for 40 days. Seven 17, literal Aramaic idiom, cycles. Okay? And the earth and the waters swelled and lifted the ark, and it floated above the earth. And the waters permeated the earth completely and rose above it, setting off the ark over the surface of the waters, etc. etc. And all flesh that crawled on the earth disappeared. So it's bird, animals, creatures, human beings that roam the earth, and all humanity, see? And all flesh that crawled on the earth disappeared, birds, animals, creatures, and every creature that roamed the earth, and all humanity. Whoever had the living breath, or life, in their nostrils from all the dry lands died. and everything that stood over the surface of the earth disappeared, from the human being to the animal. The crawlers, that'd be the insects, etc. The birds of the sky, they all disappeared from the earth, and only Noah and those with him in the ark remained. And the waters covered the earth completely for 150 days. So, what about the creatures like the crabs, starfish, etc., all those in the sea, right? You think they'd just bury themselves at the bottom of the ocean or something, right? Or crabs would hide under a rock. I guess probably they can't come out. They'd be permanently in this water, so they'd die. Yeah, they'd have to come up to the surface now and again. Yeah, that's probably what it's saying there. Okay. Okay, so 762. And Noah came along after 600 years, and the flood brought the waters to the earth. And in footnotes, 762, the waters from above the sky as a source for rain. The water on the earth alone would not be sufficient to cause a world flood where the highest mountains were covered. Okay, he did indicate in his explanations, this Victor N. Alexander, we recall, we just haven't found it again, that there are disastrous floods in the Mesopotamian region, which verifies what we found in this particular book, the Timetables of History, the new third revised edition by Bernard Gruen, based upon Werner Stein's Culture Farplan. Okay, we've already mentioned before in the previous video, where it says on page 3 of that particular book, in the last column G, daily life, disastrous floods in Mesopotamian region in the era minus 4000 to 3501. First year of Jewish calendar minus 3760, and underneath it has disastrous floods in the Mesopotamian region. So it happened in Mesopotamia. That was the known world. Okay. But there's always a possibility that it flooded, it was a global flood. Science might say otherwise. It was the ice age, and a meteor hit the earth and caused a tidal wave, which then caused earthquakes and all this sort of stuff. I mean, like, at the time, the common world, or that world mentioned, means that area, that geographical location in the Middle East, Mesopotamia, etc. All that was known, because they had no idea of the rest of the world, because possibly they haven't spread out yet. Yeah, God hasn't scattered them, or these people were scattered at the Tower of Babel, and given this language, they're confused, couldn't understand each other, and they had descendants, all that sort of stuff, and they got to a certain area they had migrated to when they were scattered, but they hadn't yet did the Columbus or the Magellan and hopped in a boat and sailed down to New Zealand or Australia and discovered that and lived there, as many people say. Moses went down to New Zealand and Aotearoa. He sailed down there and he discovered or talked to the lost tribe of Israel. A load of garbage, because Moses died. His body was hidden by God because the angels and the devil apparently were fighting over possession of his body. So yeah, a whole lot of rubbish that people are saying. Oh, but it's true. Look at was it Gogan or something? All this sort of stuff. Look at the scriptures, bro. Come on, man. Now stop the rubbish. If these scriptures, this is the original ancient manuscripts in the original language of God. If this is all true, proven true, evident, etc., then all those kind of claims are rubbish, right? Because it says in the scriptures that Moses died. The Jews will tell you, yeah, Moses died, okay, etc., etc. If there was a Moses, he died. He didn't have a map for New Zealand to go specifically. Oh, I've got to go down to New Zealand and save the lost tribe of Israel. The descendants of the lost tribe of Israel. Okay, I'm on the boat and I'm off. Bye. And he had a map, right, to get to New Zealand. Load of rubbish. Okay. So it's all there. slightly different twist to it. Okay, and God recalled Noah, and this is after the flood. And God recalled Noah and all the creatures, because he was the only one righteous, him and his sons, their wives, his wife, Noah's wife, and their wives, right? All blessed by God, all considered righteous. And God recorded Noah and all the creatures and all the animals and all the birds that were with him in the ark, and God poured out his spirit over the earth, and the waters were calmed. Okay, it says no more flood. Because remember in Genesis, the earth was empty and void, and water covered it, and the Spirit of God was floating over that water. It was going over that water, right? Okay, it's the same thing here. His Spirit, the Spirit of God, the Uruk HaKodesh, was over the waters. It's the power of God, right? And everything stopped. Everything was calmed. No more flood. Everything dried up eventually. And the springs of the abyss, or the deep pit of the earth, were shut. Also the streams of heaven, so it stopped raining basically. And the rain ceased from the sky. And the waters left the earth. They went away and returned, and the waters receded after 150 days. Okay, all that water was gone, but then it returned, so filled up the lakes and all that sort of stuff. The waters receded after 150 days. In other words, no more flooding. No more walking around with wet feet. And the ark settled down in the 7th month, by the 17th of the month, whatever that month is in the Hebrew or Jewish, on the mountain of apes. So have a look at that. 8.4 in the footnotes. Literal Aramaic name, Kadu, or Ararat. Yeah, that's what it was referred to in the ancient scribal language, the Shana Artigas Sapra, Mountain of the Apes, or that's in English, the nearest English equivalent, and the actual name was, in the literal Aramaic name, was Kadu, or Ararat. So it's nothing to do with Darwinism, human beings being apes. It's just where probably these big apes, like gorillas and all that, were rampant, right? Where they were once found, whatever. Okay? Or these apes that come out of the ark, headed, right? But then again, it's on the mountain of the apes. So, yeah, they know the history of that. Okay, because it's within their country. Mesopotamia, Syria. Okay, the waters, after 40 days, Noah opened the ports of the ark that he had made, and he set out a vulture that took off without returning. It exited the exit and went out the back door, or the front door, or the portal, whatever, the window. There's no turning back, it didn't come back. And he sent one of his pigeons to see if the waters had diminished from the face of the earth. And the pigeon could not find a place to rest its feet, and it returned to him because there was water on the surface of all the earth. And he extended his hand and received it and entered the ark to be with him. And the pigeon could not find a place to rest its feet. And we just read that. And he remained 7 more days, and he went back and sent the pigeon from the ark. So I guess they stayed inside for 7 more days, something like that. And the pigeon came to him in the evening, and there was an olive leaf held in its beak. And then Noah knew that the waters had diminished from the surface of the earth. And again he waited 7 more days, and then sent the pigeon, and he did not request that the pigeon should return to him. Well, he wasn't really bothered that it didn't come back to him, because he obviously realised that it found land, all these olive trees, and obviously the water was all dried up. No more water, no more flood, so this pigeon didn't bother coming back. Yeah. Found roost in a tree, in an olive tree. Proof, in this case, the olive tree in its beak. And it was in the 601st year, on the 1st of the month, that would be the Hebrew month, according to their calendar, that the waters dried off the earth, and Noah crossed the threshold of the cover of the ark to the ark, and looked out and saw that the surface of the earth was dry. So it's this ark made out of this special wood or whatever, but it's still got a cover to it, to the cover of the ark, probably on deck or something like that. In the 2nd month, on the 27th of the month, the earth was dry. God spoke to Noah, commanded him, get out of the ark, you and your wife and sons, together with your son's woman, with your wives, and all your creatures with you, da 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 da. And then Noah went out with his sons and his wife, and a woman of his sons with him, and all the creatures of the earth, etc., etc., exited from the ark. And he built an altar and all that sort of stuff. And Lord smelled the scent of fulfillment and contentment of his sacrifice. So some animals came out, and then they were made into sacrifices. We used the sacrifices. Okay, so the Lord smelled the scent of fulfillment and contentment, and he said in his heart, I will not allow again for the earth to be cursed because of humanity, for the aim of the human heart is evil from its young days, and I will not allow all that lives to be struck down again as he did. So there won't be a massive world global flood again like that, or a flood in that region, however it actually translates as. And from now on, from then, throughout the centuries, all the ages of the earth will have their season for sowing and harvest, rain and drought, summer and winter, day and night without ceasing. So these things happen. Okay. Or he allows these things to happen. So you have like good times, bad times, good summer seasons to grow your sow and grow your harvest, right? And you'll be faced by rain and drought, summer and winter, day and night. It'll never end. Okay. It's a continual cycle. Looking at this 821. Why has he put a footnote here? It says 821 literal Aramaic idiom, childhood. Oh, okay, yeah. And the Lord smelled the scent of fulfillment and contentment, and he said in his heart, so God has a heart. It's all symbolic, it's all figurative, right? I will not allow again for the earth to be cursed because of humanity, for the aim of the human heart or mind is evil, because in Hebrew its heart is actually the mind. His heart's just a muscle, right? Is evil, it can't think. Hearts don't think. They don't contemplate something, they don't decide, make a choice, right? It's the mind. It all comes from the mind. The human heart is evil, or the mind is evil from its young days, from its childhood. I'm not saying from infancy, I'm saying from childhood. Once you are taught these things by your parents, different things by your parents, and you start to contemplate them, you do become rebellious. Babies, 2-3 year olds, they have tempers, they have tantrums. You get a bit older, they have tantrums because they can't get what they want. Yeah? And you become pre-teens, teenagers, you have a tanty because you can't get what you want. Okay? Because it's all about you, you know? Me. I want, I have to have. Stop your feet and carry on having a tanty because you couldn't get your way. Doesn't that sound familiar? Many other people today are actually doing that. Okay? Anyone that opposes their dissipation or their way of thinking or the way that they want to be, they have a tanty. They have a fit. Right? Come at you like a bull at a gate. Okay, so that's what we left out. So we're going to leave it there. We hope that you enjoyed this particular video. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, give us a like, add your comments below the video, we'll get back to you as soon as on those, and go share it, as I always say, with all your family, friends and others. Thank you for taking the time to watch our latest video upload.